Hey, my name's Steve Hinkley. I'm the president and CEO of the Adventure Science Center. And if you were able to visit soundBox before the pandemic, our music exhibit, you might have had an opportunity to get your hands on with an actual Keith Urban guitar that was provided by our friends at Universal Music Group. Thanks to Lori Christian for providing that guitar for us. Well, here we are quite a bit later, and that guitar has definitely seen some better days. And so we're here at the amazing Delgado Guitars with our good friend Manuel Delgado here in East Nashville to get the guitar looked at and give it some TLC. How are you, brother?
I'm good.
Good to see you. Oh, here, yep, it's COVID days.
Forced to have it, yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for letting us come by your shop, and thanks for taking a look at this guitar. As I was saying, you know, it's been really, really well loved at the Science Museum, but that means that it's, of course, brought up some issues. So we're here just to have you look at it and tell us what it needs and hopefully get this thing back in perfect working order.
Absolutely, happy to do it.
And how long have you been here in this spot, and how did you get here?
So we've been here for about 7 years, but we've been in Nashville for 15. And the business has been around since 1928, so 92 years, going on 93 now. And it was started by my grandfather and my great uncle, and then passed down to my father, and then passed down to me. So, and actually this is a shot from 1950 with my grandfather and my great uncle, and they moved to Los Angeles when the shop was there.
Well, that's exciting. Well, let's head back to the shop and take a look at what we've got.
Yep, we got it over here on the bench.
Okay, so here's the Keith Urban guitar. What are just sort of your first impressions about what we're looking at in terms of what might need to be done to it?
So the first thing that I notice is obviously this pontometer right here just kind of spinning around. So I know already that means that the wires have broken loose because it got spun so much they just got, you know, they frayed and broke apart. The toggle switch that's come loose, so we're going to need to put a washer and a nut on there. And then there's a couple of wiring issues because one of the pickups isn't responding. So we need to correct that. What happens especially in cold climate, the wood will shrink. And what happens on guitars is the frets are a nickel alloy composite. And they shrink, but they shrink at a lesser rate than wood does. So these edges right here, when you run your fingers across it, it's really sharp. And if you think about a player, especially somebody like Keith Urban, who would just dance up and down this fingerboard, it would just cut his fingers up if he had an instrument like this. So we would want to clean off all these edges and make them smooth again. Really, where most of the science especially is in the string tension, the distance that the string has to travel, the scale length, the separation of the frets, all of those things. So the measurement from here to wherever you decide to put your bridge, you could put it down here, you could put it right here, you could put it 3 feet away, it doesn't matter. Once you find the center between those two, that's your octave. From there, there's a mathematical equation that you do to then measure where the placement for the first fret would go. And then you redo that mathematical equation and do the same thing for the second.
Wow.
You go back and forth, and that's why they slowly and progressively start to get closer and closer together. So this has 2 pickups, they call these humbuckers. And the whole point of having the 2 different ones, they have this in the neck position and this one in the bridge position. We want the vibration to be greatest at the center. And as that string is vibrating, these pickups are picking the steel strings up and they're getting the tone off of it and they're transferring them through. You have volume and tone pots, and then it runs through, and then people can use all kinds of different effect pedals and all kinds of different stuff. I'm going to flip this over and we're going to be able to see. This is the selector switch. You toggle it in one position and you get to hear the neck pickup. You put it in the center and you get to hear the neck and the bridge pickup. And then you toggle it down and it's the bridge pickup.
And each time you do that, you'll get a slightly different sound based on which pickup you're activating.
Exactly. So the pickup placement is going to give you a different tone because it's picking up the different tension of where that string is vibrating. If it's closer to the bridge, it's going to be a tighter vibration, so it's going to give a different tone versus the neck pickup, which if you think of like an acoustic guitar, that's where the sound hole would be. That's where it's going to get the most vibration and tone out of. So, yeah. So one of the things that I noticed on this is there's a lead wire that's soldered here, but the ground wire has come loose. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually remove this wire, and then I'm going to re-solder that right here to the center.
This is amazing. Like, I mean, it already looks 100 times better than than when we brought it in, not to mention the fact that hopefully it's all working right now. So
yeah,
this is amazing.
So I cleaned it up a little bit. I got the tailpiece on there, and now we're gonna get strings and put it on there, and then hopefully we'll be able to plug it in and see if it's working. So now when I hit this string, that's an A. And if I want to hear the octave, it would be right here. And then I would check to make sure if it's sharp or flat, I can adjust each individual string with these little saddles. So we can plug it in and check it and see if it's working now.
All right.
Shall we?
All right, so Manuel has spent some time with the guitar and he's worked on it and got it all back in shape. So Manuel, tell us a little bit about all the things that we needed to have fixed and what you were able to do to it.
Okay, well, when you brought it in, we noticed that it was missing the nut that holds the toggle switch together, and a couple of wires had gotten frayed, and the same thing over here with one of the tone pots, so we resoldered those. We cleaned up the fret edges. As I mentioned earlier, wood shrinks at a greater rate than nickel, so these had gotten sharp on the edge here, and we cleaned that up so it's comfortable to play. We tightened up all the components on it. Again, just from over time, they're gonna loosen up because the instrument's made out of wood. And then we got a tail piece for it because it was missing that, strung it up, and made sure that our action, meaning the distance between the string and the fret, is at a comfortable place, and tuned it up, and it's working again. So it's ready to go again for the Adventure Science Center, round 2.
Yeah, well, hopefully we won't have to bring it back in the same shape, but thanks so much. You did an amazing job. So excited to have this guitar back and in working order. Really appreciate Manuel and Delgado Guitars for making this, again, a working piece of art. And thanks so much for Universal Music Group providing this to us. Come down to the Science Center. Should be out on the floor and get a chance to play this.